National Strategic Reserve receives approval for grains release.
National Population Commission begins trial post-enumeration survey nationwide.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we turn our attention to the PDP presidential campaign.
Akwa Ibom State, South Nigeria played host to the People's Democratic Party (PDP) as it began, when it began its presidential campaign in earnest on Monday, October 3.
The party's presidential candidate, that's former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, presented a 4-point agenda based on job creation, unity, restoration of security, and quality education.
And Abubakar, who has contested 5 times for the office of the president in 1993, 2007, 2011, 2015, and 2019, explained that the party will be focusing on issue-based campaigns ahead of the 2023 general elections and urged Nigerians to vote for the PDP.
Well, the campaigns, however, began without some leaders of the party in attendance. This, of course, include Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike, Seyi Makinde of Oyo State, Okezie Ikpeazu of Abia State, Ifeanyi Ogunwanye of Enugu State, and of course Samuel Otom of Benue.
And the analysts suggest the development may not be unconnected to the outcome of the party's presidential primary, which took place in May at a special convention in Abuja, Kingsley.
Well, the aggrieved state governors who boycotted the kickoff of the campaigns insist that the incumbent national chairman of the party, Dr. Yocha Ayo, should be removed and replaced with a southerner, a deal that they say was agreed to several months ago.
And there are also issues being raised on the composition of the Presidential Campaign Council, though all PDP governors who are appointed members of the council, including Nyesom Wike, governor of Rivers State, many in the party have expressed reservations about the portfolio of some officials.
Well, they also cite the case of the Sokoto State Governor, Aminu Tambuwal, who is the Director General of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, as well as the Chairman of the party's Governors Forum.
The question of unity and inability of the Governors Forum to meet for a while now, in spite of the many challenges before the party, including campaigns taken off in earnest and in the midst of serious internal party wranglings, is another major obstacle before the PDP.
There are other issues such as the allegation of misconduct being leveled against the members or some members of the National Working Committee, and reports that campaigns were earlier suspended on account of many issues that remain unresolved, even though there's been a denial of the suspension of the campaigns from the party. But however, there are distractions that require urgent address by the PDP, according to observers.
Now, several persons insist the PDP must put its house in order to garner public confidence in its ability to manage Nigeria if voted into office in the next democratic dispensation.
Well, the party's campaign train moved to Kaduna just this week, and where it, of course, dismissed allegations of ethnic and tribal politics against its presidential candidate. It also condemned attacks on its campaign rally in Kaduna. Now, we understand that the campaign team will later leave for Benin, Edo State capital, on Saturday, the 29th of this month.
Now, PDP presidential campaign is our focus on Good Morning Nigeria today. Welcome to the program. I'm Yusuf Nadabo Usman.
I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Nadabo to also welcome you to the program, and just to remind our viewers that about a fortnight ago, we also hosted the APC Presidential Campaign Council. The DG of the Campaign Council, the Governor of Plateau State, was here with us, along with the woman leader of the APC and one of the spokespersons of the APC. That's speaking of Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Festus Kayam. Of course, they took questions regarding the flag off of their campaign and many perspectives. So this is part of what Good Morning Nigeria will be doing. We are focusing today on the PDP, and of course going forward, we'll also take on the other political parties.
Political parties too, the NPP, Labour Party, and
so but there are 18 candidates in the election, so as many of them, of course, as we can take, and as the campaigns gather momentum, then focusing on specific issues that may arise because of all of that. But for today's edition of the program, it's the PDP, and we have our complementary segments. They will include newspaper review and business. For now, we have the highlights of the morning news, and here is Frama Panye. Good morning, Frama.
Good morning, Kingsley. Good morning, Nedabo. Good morning, Nigerians. And here is the morning news. Ministries, departments, and agencies have been directed to reinvigorate their efforts towards ramping up the delivery of the federal government flagship programs and projects contained in their ministerial mandates. President Muhammadu Buhari, who gave the directive at the opening of the third Ministerial Performance Review Retreat, insists that nothing will be left to chance at this critical point in the life of his administration as it begins winding down.
Some of the notable achievements include the completion of 326 kilometers Itape Ajakuta Wari rail line, the completion of over 150 kilometers Lagos-Ibadan standard gauge railway modernization project, the construction of 1.9 kilometer second Niger bridge linking Anambra and Delta states, construction and expansion of Lagos-Shagamu-Ibadan dual carriageway, the ongoing rehabilitation of Abuja, Kaduna, Kano Road, among others.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has expressed the need for an effective synergy between the fiscal and monetary policy as well as the exchange rate management system. The Vice President also makes case for the use of technology, which he says substantially helped in the implementation of the administration's numerous programs.
The power sector is an area where there has been game-changing progress. But the situation is rather like building a skyscraper. The foundation is several floors into the ground and no one sees the work while the critical component of the building is being done. And this is where we are in the power sector. A lot of foundational stuff is going on. First is the improvement in generating capacity today.
The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has appealed to eligible voters in the country to trust him with their votes in the forthcoming presidential election, and he will treat such mandate with all sincerity in turning around the fortunes of the country for better. He said this while addressing party supporters at a campaign rally in Kaduna.
Private sector in the Kaduna State, we will be establishing those factories. Atiku is the man who is ready to ensure that this security that we have in the land is no more.
National Coordinator of the Buhari National Votes Guard and Awareness, Kailani Mohammed, wants Nigerians, particularly politicians, to carefully and objectively interrogate the performance of the APC-led government with facts and figures. At a media briefing in Abuja, Kailani said this will enable Nigerians to make informed opinions ahead of the 2023 general elections.
What the administration is working to stabilize the country by achieving the following: Nigeria's oil and gas industry reform, AKK, escravos, Dangote, power sector, Siemens, 25,000 megawatts, reorganization of the armed forces with an infrastructural revolution, as well as constructing of second Niger and Loco, Iweto Bridge, and a new deep sea port in Lagos.
President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the release of 12,000 metric tons of food items to cushion the effects of flood in the country. The food items are to be released from the National Strategic Reserve to the National Emergency Management for distribution. In the meantime, the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development says the number of deaths as a result of flood has risen to 600 as of last week. 132 million people displaced and 121,000 houses are either partially or totally destroyed. The National Population Commission, NPC, says preparations for the 2023 census are in top gear and set to begin trial post-enumeration survey in 6 states selected across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. The nationwide exercise, which will also include a mop-up, will run from Tuesday 18th October to 29th October 2022.
This trial post-enumeration survey exercise is in line with the United Nations principles and recommendation for population and housing censuses. It gives credibility to the census results and engenders confidence.
For the prior years, it is meant to check the past, the prior census, and it also gives us insights about what is going to happen in the future.
That's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Nedebo and Kingsley after this break. Do stay with us.
Operation Wild Punch covers Kaduna and Niger State. The operation was recently reorganized to also cover the critical Abuja-Kaduna Expressway, which had a defunct standby alone operation codenamed Operation Thunder Strike. Additionally, as part of the Operation Wild Punch, a subsidiary operation codenamed Operation Forest Sanity has also been launched to flush out the terrorists from the forest that straddle Kaduna and Niger states. These efforts were geared towards flushing out criminal elements from the Kaduna-Abuja Expressway and its environment. I am pleased to inform that Kaduna Expressway has been secured through a combined efforts of the armed forces, the police, and other security agencies.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The violent and criminal activities of indigenous people of Biafra and its armed wing, the Eastern Security Network, present the greatest threat in the Southeast Zone. However, kidnapping for ransom, armed banditry, communal clashes have been some of the security threats that bedevil the region. Accordingly, joint military operations are being conducted in the Southeast to overcome the threats and to entrench peace and security. The military effort, in collaboration with other security agencies, are achieving the set objectives, which are the defeat of the threat and restoration of peace and security in the region.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Everywhere you go, from banks to hospitals to public offices, mass transit stations, airports, and even telecommunication centers, senior citizens are treated as nuisances. They are not. They are senior members of our society and they deserve the utmost respect. We shouldn't be having our aged fathers and mothers standing in long queues to withdraw their monies at banks. Our retired senior citizens shouldn't be caught standing in buses for lack of seats or chasing after one just to get to their destination. Senior citizens shouldn't have to sit long hours in hospital corridors with no geriatric specialist to attend to them. Our senior citizens deserve better treatment from all of us. They deserve to be listened to. They are deserving of seat reservations on public buses and priority attendance in public spaces. As young people, we are quick to say, no one owes you. This is not true. We owe the elderly members of our society a helping hand, our services, and respect. Age-friendly societies have more senior citizens enjoying good health, living safely, and engaging in meaningful community work than those who do not. Dignified age-friendly services for senior citizens.
The counsel of our fathers.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Now let's talk business. The International Monetary Fund (IMF) says Africa is living on the edge. Details of that with Adika Opanacharwa.
The International Monetary Fund (IMF) has described sub-Saharan Africa at the moment as a region living on the edge. This comes via its regional economic outlook. The fund said the outlook of the region is extremely uncertain as geopolitical tension, monetary tightening, and food price crisis continue. The report identifies 4 policy priority areas as different countries explore options to navigate the economic challenge. It stressed the need to address food insecurity, manage the shift in monetary policies, consolidate dating public finances, and set the stage for sustainable and greener growth. IMF puts the region's debt to gross domestic product this year at 24.1%, while that of next year is estimated at 23.8%. Meanwhile, crude oil prices were up on Monday compared to the previous day. The price of Brent crude was at $92.31 from $91.63 of the previous day, and the price of West Texas Intermediate crude was at $85.61, up from $85.61. With business news, Alika Opunachi Arwa.
Thank you very much, Alika, for the business package. Coming up next is newspaper review.
It's newspaper review time. Let's look at the papers we have today. I think we have a couple of them here. We have Daily Trust and of course, what do you have, Benjamin?
I have a Nation newspaper.
All right, and then let's start with the Daily Trust newspaper. Can you have Daily Trust newspaper, please? Daily Trust, page, the front page this beautiful Tuesday morning. Looking at that page, we could see the following stories, and these are the ones coming right under the masthead. One is on page 33. That says, Atiku to Kaduna voters, I will end insecurity, revive industries. Page 33. 23, page 23, Nigeria's inflation rate hits new 17-year high of 20.77%. And on page 7, troops kill 6 ISWAP fighters, repel attack on Zulum's hometown. This one is on page 7 of the Daily Trust. The big story on the Daily Trust this morning is, political. At Northern Elders Forum, or Northern Elders Party, I would say, is I will champion indivisible, prosperous Nigeria, complete Mambila and Ajaokuta Kaduna Kano gas pipeline, says Tinubu. And the riders here are North, Nigeria's greatest asset. I will unlock Nigeria's potentials. This coming from Obi, the Labour Party presidential candidate. He also says, however, he's being referred to here by Erufai. He says, Obi detained me in 2013. That's coming from Kaduna State Governor Erufai. There are stories of, the presidential candidates in Kaduna. Here at the rally, you can see Atiku there making a speech, and of course, a little bit to the left or to the right of the screen, you see Bola Ahmed Tinubu there, and of course, down a little bit, you meet Peter Obi with Sheikh Gumi after the visit. Now, right under the picture, we have this story that comes on page 23 of the Daily Trust. It says, petrol scarcity lingers in Abuja as Logoja gridlock persists. At the foot of the page, these stories appear. One is on page 5. I've met yearnings of Nigerians, says President Buhari. On page 12, disabled girl who writes eats with legs 6 help. And finally, on page 6, court takes 3 witnesses on General Alkali since 2018. Now I'm really so trending here on the Daily Trust newspaper. Just what do you have?
Let's look also at the window page of the Nation newspaper. You have a lot of it on politics. And so above the nameplate of the Nation newspaper, 2023, INEC chair not under pressure to quit. Beavers to be deployed. You have details of that on page 6. On page 7, Wiki, PDP should apologize over article comment. I will unlock Nigeria's greatness, says Obi, that's Peter Obi of the Labour Party. $5.8 billion Mambila power. ICC declines to stop firm's case. That's page 7. My administration scorecard by President Muhammad Buhari, that of course emerged at the retreat yesterday of the government. Atiku promises to restore security and revive industries in Kaduna. My plans for prosperous united Nigeria by Tinubu. Ruling party standard bearer unfolds blueprint for out-of-school children, while North should vote APC candidate by L5. Then you also have this story. It says NLNG's force majeure may push up gas price. I'll come to that story shortly. But lastly, at the foot of the front page, NSCDC, that's Civil Defense, arrests suspected sodomites and accomplices in Sokoto, 2 killed in Kogi attack. That's an attack on a church. Now, NLNG force majeure, what is happening is this one of the consequences of the flooding in the Niger Delta at the moment. The NLG spokesperson says that the notice by the gas suppliers to NLNG to produce gas for export was as a result of high flood water levels in their operational areas, leading to a shortening of gas production, which has caused significant disruption of gas supply to NLNG. So this is one of the consequences of the flooding. You know, LNG, of course, is located in Bonny. Bonny is one of the export terminals for the country's crude oil products, but this is for gas. And as we have seen from various videos and still photographs in the last couple of days, the flooding in the Niger Delta has been excessive. There's another very disturbing report I saw online last night, and it has to do with what is happening in parts of Delta and Bayelsa, that on account of the flooding, bodies that have been buried in the cemetery are now floating in the waters. But once, of course, you have sufficient saturation, the earth opens up and the bodies are said to be floating in parts of Delta and Bayelsa. It's an act of God, as the saying goes, but quite clearly the humanitarian catastrophe that is unfolding right now is one that the president has, on the one hand, responded to by approving the release of food items from the nation's strategic reserve. We do hope that these items are delivered expeditiously. Now, but yesterday I also raised the question as to what will be done or what is being done with regard to water purification machines. Because when we had a conversation on Good Morning Nigeria, at the time, Kogi State in particular, Lokoja was heavily impacted by the floods. We were informed by a NEMA official who was our guest, he's a director by the way. He did say that NEMA had deployed water purification machines to Kogi, and they were also on their way to go into Delta. Now that it's Delta that is still taking the hit, Bayelsa is there, and part of Anambra as well as rivers, where are the water purification machines? Because once you have floods of this nature, you can't get clean water, and that's where waterborne diseases spread, cholera for instance, and that can lead to rapid fatalities if not taken care of expeditiously. Already the numbers are scary. 603 persons have died this year from floods.
If you do probably we really, we are very concerned about the issue of this flood engaging down as it moves. It was in Makurdi Dam, it came down to Lokoja, it was moving towards, Bayelsa, and it was nice already there. Now we raised the issue of looking ahead and then curtailing the effect as it moves down to the sea. And we even, sort of asked, the NEMA and so it is concerned to look at the issue of curtailing the disaster as it moves on so that it doesn't really have so much impact, because lessons have been learned from Makurdi down to Lokoja. We're still facing the Lokoja issue. Abuja is still trapped in fuel scarcity and a lot of other places. But even though that's another topic entirely, but I don't see any reason why Abuja should be trapped in fuel scarcity then, because the surrounding areas who get their own supply through Lokoja and whatever way anyway have fuel and the rest of them.
Well, there could be an explanation for that. Typical hoarding. I understand that if you drive some kilometers outside of the city, you get fuel, but usually at a markup for that. Now, what happened? There was some relief, but there was some relief after the waters receded from Lokoja, so the vehicles could then move. But there is a bridge between the Murtala Mohammed with Long Bridge and Kotonkarfe, one of these smaller bridges along the estuaries there. The part of the bridge gave way. Now, I think that Kiran and I were on set on that occasion, and we did raise the possibility that this is probably what might have happened. A bridge is not designed to bear dead weight. It's possible that during the pile-up of vehicles and the long, slow traffic that was moving, some vehicles were just left on top of the bridge, and this could have been heavy-duty vehicles, and so the weight would have affected it. But there ought to be speedy response by the engineers, corps of engineers from the military, and this is the time to be saying we want to award contracts. Those numbers can be sorted out quickly, and then things will then move on. So that's for that. The floods are still ravaging, and the consequences are there for all to see. But these are palliative measures that we are kicking in now, Nadabo. Experts have also said that Nigeria needs to build its own dam in Adamawa, Adamawa to act as a receptacle in the first instance whenever Cameroon releases water from its Lagdo Dam. Cameroon is not, according to the experts, releasing the water because it wants to punish Nigeria. You can't do that in the international law anyway. It's just that there are threats to that. Once there are perceived threats to the Lagdo Dam, in other words, once it reaches a certain threshold, you have to release water. Otherwise, if the dam breaks, then the consequences will be even more catastrophic.
History has it that even the dam in Adamawa was supposed to have been constructed before the Lagdo Dam was constructed, because that was part of the agreement. Let Nigeria construct a dam down there so that you can now take the water whenever Lagdo Dam releases its own. And that was as far back as the 70s when the dam was constructed. But they waited for Nigeria to do its own part of the deal. It didn't. That was supposed to be in Nasin House and Adamawa for local government, Adamawa state.
What I understand from what I've read, I'm sure again the water authorities will have an answer to this, is to say that the Cameroonians, as part of the deal for the construction of the dam, the Nigerian authorities were also to build theirs. The Cameroonian authorities constructed the dam between 1977 and 1982, and the Nigerian authorities were to then take off from there. That's 40 years ago. So it still hasn't been done, and that's why you'll be having the flooding in Adamawa, in Taraba, in Benue, Kogi, and now down to the Atlantic Ocean. Plus the fact that we also have some other dams which are not deseated. Once these dams are not deseated, their capacity to impound water becomes...
that's really, but still I want to, on the last note, which of course the director is saying that we should round up this segment, but we should also remind ourselves, as Daily Trust always does here, that 11 schoolboys of FGC Benin Kebbi are still in captivity for 188 days. One student of Bethel Baptist High School, Kujama, 461 days still in captivity. And of course, not forgetting the Chibok girls, which are almost 100 or so of them, still in captivity 8 years after. That's newspaper review segment of the Good Morning Nigeria. We'll be back in a moment with the discussion program. Stay with us.
The Ministry of Police Affairs under my watch has been instrumental to strengthening Nigerian police force to tackle challenges in the internal security architecture of the nation. To effectively achieve its mandate to protect lives and property within Nigeria, the Nigerian police have deployed operational intelligence and the ICT-based apparatus to tackle and stem the tide of crime and criminality. Some of these efforts include the maximization of the Force Intelligence Bureau, Intelligence Response Team, and Special Tactical Squads, through utilization of emergency contacts via the NPF Rescue Me application for emergency response at the top of a button.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve the sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
The Leaders Switch Over project, which is commonly referred to as DSO, which entails television channels switching from analog to digital broadcasting. It's one of the biggest projects embarked upon by this administration. Borrowed as free TV, offers its viewers about 60 digital channels, including sports, music, movies, and news. The federal government has licensed about 23 set-top box manufacturers. 7 of them are production, employing several thousands of people. We've made it now compulsory for all stations in Nigeria to only broadcast productions made in Nigeria for products which are produced in Nigeria.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who's a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
And as a prompt for our conversation, which is on PDP presidential campaign, there is a background report put together by Abdulsalam Jibril.
Over a week ago, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, flagged off its 2023 presidential campaign in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital, with its candidate Atiku Abubakar urging Nigerians to vote the party to ensure good governance. Also addressing the rally, national chairman of the party, Senator Iyorchia Ayu, thanked Nigerians for turning out en masse for the flag-off of the campaign. Although the event that was held at the Gospel Akpabio International Stadium attracted a large crowd, the absence of the party's 5 sitting governors raised eyebrows. Recall that the party was enmeshed in a leadership crisis after its presidential primary, which was won by Atiku Abubakar at a special convention held in Abuja in the month of May. A few days after the kickoff, reports began making rounds that the party had rescheduled its presidential campaign rallies for some states indefinitely. The party did not offer any explanation to the effect, but experts say the halting of the rallies was not unconnected to the issues the party is having with one of its members, namely Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike. A day later, Director General of the party's presidential campaign organization, Governor Aminu Tambuwal, denied the reports that the party has suspended its presidential campaign. The governor assured that the campaign team will replicate the kind of scenario it had in Uyo, where the party kicked off its presidential rally. Currently, however, political analysts maintain that there are strong undercurrents within the party, insisting that the PDP crisis is far from over. With the inability of the leadership of the party to manage the fallout of the party's presidential primary, there are growing fears that the endless crisis would affect the party in the 2023 general election. Guest on Good Morning Nigeria will speak to issues on the PDP presidential campaign shortly.
Thank you very much, Abdulsalam Jibril, for that background. We have 3 guests with us in the studios, all PDP stalwarts, to discuss issues around the PDP presidential campaign. Let's welcome a regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria, Dr. Baraka Sani. Dr. Baraka Sani is, of course, the former Commissioner for Agriculture and Natural Resources in Kano State. He's also PDP stalwart and currently Director support groups for PDP presidential campaign. Dr. Baraka, we're glad to have you again on Good Morning Nigeria. Also here with us in the studios is another regular guest now on Good Morning Nigeria, the Commissioner for Information in Delta State, Honorable Charles Aniago, who is also the PDP presidential candidate's spokesperson. Honorable Aniago, we're glad to have you this morning.
Thanks for having me. Good morning, everyone.
And also joining us is Frank Schreiber, Special Assistant to Atiku Abubakar on Public Communication. It's a pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria, Frank.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
You're welcome.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, it's our pleasure to have you. This is one in our series of interactions with the various campaign councils of the political parties. We already had one with the APC, and so this week and today we are having this with the PDP. But let me begin by asking this question. Yes, we know the campaigns have formally been flagged off. According to the AVEC timetable, that was on the 28th of September. And your party has also launched its campaign in Uyo, that's the capital of Akwa Ibom State. But in terms of the optics and what the members of the public and ultimately the electorate are hearing and getting to see, would be issues still around a great deal of sense of disunity that, oh, some persons are still dissatisfied. Yes, and Wike, continues to press ahead with what he's saying, along with the other governors who are with him. I don't want to say rebel governors, but it appears that you've not quite gained altitude yet. You're climbing, but it looks a bit challenging. What is happening? Dr. Baraka, let's begin with you.
Well, good morning, Nigerians. One thing I want people to understand is that there will always be, give and take situation, and especially in a democratic system, these things are bound to happen. It's nothing out of the usual. And for PDP, it's a very big party. Obviously, when you have a large family, you always tend to be having issues here and there. But all I know is that our leadership is working very hard to make sure that everyone comes back and everyone is carried along. You also heard from some of those that have issues. They say they cannot do anything else than to support their party, but they just want to make their issues heard, clear, and then resolved. So along the way, I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of the ladder to make sure that everything is sorted out, and then we are all back on one ship. Apart from that, there are other interests. It's just that the media is also playing its own role, because some of the issues are not as big as the media portrays them to be. And they exist virtually in all most of the big parties. When you don't see these issues, it means the party is a small party. But a big party like the People's Democratic Party, if this doesn't happen, then people are not interested in the party. The higher the interest, the higher the stakes, the more, crisis, the more misunderstandings you have, because everybody wants to be on the ship. And to be on the ship, you need some issues to be resolved so that everybody will be carried along. At the end of the day, PDP is really blessed to have a matured presidential candidate, a father to all, a veteran who understands the working of a democracy and who is keen in seeing that all his children are carried on the ship that will sail to success. And by the grace of God, PDP will get there. Nigerians should just be patient. Once again, good morning, Nigeria.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Baraka. You said everybody needs to be on that ship, and I think that's what the PDP chairman also said at the flag off in Uyo. And if I may just throw to Charles and here, and then with this quote from IU, the PDP chairman, and then linking it to what Baraka just said. He said the PDP trend has started moving, and she alluded to that very much. You are really moving, but he said we are moving slowly, so that those who are yet to be on board will join us on the train. That slowly is the issue here. We're moving slowly. And do you think you have all the time to keep moving slowly as the days, or rather the minutes and the hours tick by?
Well, let me say that if what my sister Dr. Baraka said were to be built up under the arm, you will not need to look for any soup to swallow it, because she has been able to put it the way it should. And I thought you would even commend our party for being the only party that have officially flagged up campaigns. We scored a whole lot of first in this whole process. Right from when the issue of the primary started, up to when we needed to, of course, nominate a candidate, up to the time that we needed to produce a vice presidential running mate, up to the time that we needed to kick up our campaign, including setting up our campaign council. All the other political parties have yet to even begin, even as we speak. And the party that have started and is moving slowly and steadily need to be commended. Having said that, I want to say that the wheel of democracy usually goes slowly for the purpose of accommodating the very plural views, which is an ingredient in any democratic setting. She has already mentioned the fact that when you are big, just like when the head is big, according to Abdullah, certainly if you have headache, it will also be a big headache, because it has to be in a very big box, and that is the head. And so the party is a party that is available in all the wards in this country. And if it is available in all the wards in this country, you expect that there are different interests that will also, of course, emanate from these different wards. Individuals with their own different backgrounds. And so the train, like our national chairman rightly mentioned, have left the station, but we are not moving with that kind of speed that you expect us to, because we assume that once we need to match any brake, we easily apply the brake so that those who are yet to board that train can easily come in without having to sustain injury. Because to jump into a fast-moving train may likely trigger some casualty, and we don't want such casualty. And as we continue to move very, very slowly, we are quite happy that we're moving steadily. You saw what happened. I'm sure you saw what happened, at least from your visual, what happened in Kaduna yesterday. It's actually surpassed the kind of crowd we saw in Akwa Ibom. The only difference is that when you come out of that stadium, the Rantas B Stadium, you see almost more than a kilometers from that particular venue, number of persons who are party supporters. Even if there was an attempt to want to disrupt that, our people resisted it by staying put, because they were very much willing to listen to the presidential candidate. So we are quite comfortable with where we are. We want, by the grace of God, to believe and hope that in the course of time, our brothers and other leaders who have not actually come on board, we certainly see the need to do so. One beautiful thing, like Dr. Barakat also mentioned, is that they have insisted that they will work for their party. And since the party is the vehicle, it means the vehicle is still very much alive to be able to carry the passengers to their destination. The only thing we need is the cooperation to support the driver so that he drives very smoothly.
Thank you very much, Charles. Frank, let's also have your take on this. Do you think that the activities and disposition of Governor Wike and some of his colleagues are a distraction from the message and messaging that the PDP candidates would like, of course, to pass on to the electorate at this time? Because there's no denying that, Wike keeps speaking, and then the other governors, keep standing by him, and so on and so on. Is it a distraction?
Far from it. And that's why I want to align clearly with my colleagues here, Dr. Baraka and Charles. And like Charles, illustrated clearly. First off, you have to commend a vehicle that has taken off. And now look at those with knocked engines who already talk about to sit in the corner of their bedroom and look and pick holes in whatever step we take and make conjectures as well. But you see, in a democracy, particularly in a growing democracy like that of Nigeria, this is to be expected. When a man aspires for the biggest office in the land, particularly the office of president, some persons have their aspirations buried in his own ambition. So, and if in the course of that project, presidential project or aspiration as it were, the fact that, somehow he did not make it by getting the ticket, obviously those around him will feel agitated because the ambition obviously have been extinguished in the course of that. So we can understand this. And you know that the bitter heart is not capable of charity. So you don't expect him to, you don't expect those around him, that you may consider as a distraction. You don't expect them to be, to be jumping around and giving a full clap, a whole hug. It will take time to heal. And we expect that, like in the analogy of Charles, as the train is moving slowly and gradually, we expect that healing will take place within that period, and they'll jump on the ship. The PDP is a big family. The beautiful thing is that what has happened or what is happening is the fact that some family members have left the bedroom to come to stay in the sitting room. They have not left the house. So they are still under the big umbrella. They are still in the party. So they are not a distraction. Instead, what that does for us is that it revs up our capacity. It energizes us to say, look, we have to put the right things in place, cross the T's, dot the I's, and keep selling our message of rescuing Nigerians from maladministration. The table for the common man.
I'm sorry, the analogy is an interesting one. When you say some of the members of the party have left the bedroom and they are now in the sitting room, they haven't left the house. I know we have had a conversation around this on Good Morning Nigeria, and Charles was also part of that conversation. But some of these family members who are in the sitting room, they are saying that the chef in the kitchen should go, that they don't like the food that is likely to prepare, that the chef should leave the kitchen, and the kitchen is part of the house. That Charles was talking about pounded yam, the example of pounded yam that brought Baraka without soup. They say the chef in the kitchen should go.
And I'll tell you something. Yeah. Let me tell you something very clearly here. You see, sometimes I believe Nigeria. I see Nigeria as a big picture, and that's what the presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar sees Nigeria as a pan-Nigerian candidate. He sees Nigeria as one big picture, and we believe that we should use our dynamic diversity as a unifying factor. Time has gone past for a country like Nigeria to begin to think of a president or electing people based on geography. The presidential candidate, even if you look at the complaints coming from our brothers within the party, basically, that's why I don't want to spend so much time, discussing that. But since you have brought me back there, let me take a look at this. Let me give you this analogy clearly. When you want to board a flight from Lagos to Abuja, or you want to board a flight from Abuja to Heathrow, I am not sure you ask the airline the tribe or the language the pilot speaks. You don't know who the pilot is. You don't know where he comes from. The president of a country is like that pilot. So the issue of the man who is cooking the food, but he complained about where he came from. So if at this point you now want to remove the captain of a team based on geography, why not wait till when we win the Champions League? The Champions League is coming up in February, which is the presidential election. After that, you can change the captainship. You can take the captain's ban from him. So the idea is, and I'm sure that they know that we've seen this play out multiple times. It happened during Jonathan. It happened in other elections. Ahmad Ali was chairman of our party at some point in time. And we know what's transpired. So you see, this thing should be based. The larger interest of the Nigerian people should be uppermost on our mind. It's not just about PDP. I think he's not aspiring to be president of the PDP. He's aspiring to be president of Nigeria. And for those who make allusions to the fact that President Muhammadu Buhari is leaving office as a northerner, and as such an Atiku cannot occupy office as a northerner, and you now have the national chairman of the northern descent in office. No, the question is, it does not follow. The question is, we had Uche Secondus, who was national chairman of our party. He was from the South geopolitical zone, particularly from even River State at that point. But some interests in a way to balance their aspiration made sure that he was eased out of office for the emergence of a national chairman from the northern descent, because based on their calculation and their permutations, they expected that I'm going to emerge. You understand? So we know these things, and a lot of water has passed under the bridge. Elections have been conducted. The primary election has been conducted. The winner has emerged. And like my brother Wiki said, look, he has no problem with the candidature of His Excellency Atiku Abubakar. He has no problem with the nomination of vice presidential candidate, our own Governor Ifeanyi Okoya. All the interest is the national chairman. Fine, we don't have a problem with that. Then what does the law say? We don't want to be dragged. What would be a major distraction is if our presidential candidate were not a Democrat, if you were a dictator, he would have simply said, look, I will go and sit down. No. It's a local meaning of law. You see, we don't have laws guiding this thing. Our position is very clear. Yes.
Frank, thank you so much. That's a good elucidation, but at the same time, we need to really, sort of interrogate your earlier statement talking about the comparison, the analogy of the pilot and the those in the plane and the rest of them.
Yes.
In most climes in other climes apart from Nigeria and African countries in far world, that one will not hold so much, given the fact that questions have been asked before the pilot gets into the cockpit. And of course, once he's there, that's the end of the story now. You forget about who. If you didn't come to ask the question before then, join and let's go. But before he gets to the cockpit, questions have been asked, and that's the stage of
I have been to one or two nations of the world. I've never asked where the pilot comes from. I have never asked. I have never simply
now, that being the case, Baraka, let's look at that seriously and then look at it very well. We cannot really, say that, the issue of Wike can be just waved away, because discussions and dialogues are going on. There are strong voices from other party members too, who are saying that the situation at the moment may not really be good for the party as it progresses this way. Although it's heartwarming to know that Wike himself has accepted the fact that he's not going to leave the party. But the distractions are still there. People keep asking questions, what's happening? Where are we headed? What does he want? What the PDP want? You know, these are questions very pertinent indeed that need answers, and campaigns are going. People that ask these questions are those who are looking for their votes, and they really need the answers. So how do you respond to that?
Well, sincerely speaking, I think for me, Nigerians should look at the quality and product that PDP is selling to them in the person of Atiku Abubakar. This other issue is our own internal problem, because in a family, that is it. One time, let me just give you an instance. During our campaign days in Kano, there was a time that we were on the podium and my leader's house was on fire. It was burning, but nobody knew what was happening. On the one side, he was tackling the fire issue with the fire brigade while he was, campaigning and people clapping with people. So this is PDP's internal problems, which every other party has. Because PDP is very big, PDP is the biggest party, PDP has the highest stake. That's why all eyes are on PDP. But for me, I think it's like prognosing. Nigerians are doing amebo and the press is helping them to sneak into our house. This is our internal problem. And amebo is not good. Even in religion, if you are not part of something, don't poke your nose. It's our internal problem, and our Father is here, and by the grace of God, He will resolve it. If our presidential candidate has come out to tell Nigerians that he will move a bad situation to worse, then Nigerians will be worried. But my own presidential candidate has told Nigerians, I don't think in the whole country there is any single presidential candidate that has this policy document to tell Nigerians what he has on the line for them. This is our policy document. No Nigerian presidential candidate has this to show. None. So Nigerians should be bothered more about this policy document as it affects them. Our presidential candidate has spelled out everything that Nigeria needs. Then the thing that should concern Nigerians is, can he do it? And the answer is yes. One, he is talking about security and unity. Without unity, we can get nowhere. How do we achieve unity? Equity, justice, fairness, and coming together and becoming, he is a pan-Nigerian. That's one interest that Nigerians should look at. Secondly, he has spoken about security. Security includes food security, and then physical, the military one that we are looking for in terms of defending the territorial integrity of Nigeria. Can he do it? The answer is yes, because he has an experience already, and now from his actions you can see he has a roadmap, and it is all in this policy document. The third aspect, he's talking about economy. Can he do it? Yes, because he's a private sector person as well. He has more than 25,000 jobs he has given to the young ones. Even in the Niger Delta, Atiku Abubakar is one of the highest employers of labor apart from the federal government. What else are you looking for? Then if you talk about the regulation, that is devolution of power, Atiku Abubakar believes in strengthening the federating units and then making the federal government strong enough to supervise the federating unit and provide the umbrella under which every Nigerian can come in, being reassured that his country is growing, his country's territorial integrity is protected, his country's economy is prosperous, and so on and so forth. But when we have internal wranglings, this should not divert Nigerians' attention to be thinking, what has it got to benefit them if we resolve our internal issues, or if somebody is scratched, or if somebody's leg is swollen inside our house. We have our doctors, we have our nurses, we have our hospitals. So if our presidential candidate was somebody who has not gotten this policy document, then Nigerians have everything to worry about. If our presidential candidate has issues about corruption, then Nigerians should be worried about. If our presidential candidate has not commenced his campaigns, then Nigerians have everything to worry about. If our presidential candidate is not a father and he's saying it is his own turn, a Lilo con, then they know that this one is going to share somebody. We are not sharing anything. We want to work. And we, the foot soldiers, the infantry, are ready. We have rolled our sleeves. Nigerians should thank God.
Your sleeves are not rolled.
You see? So honestly, we should take away our mind from the internal wranglings of the PDP. They exist in every party. It's just that the parties are too small, too insignificant, too little, too unnecessarily small that you don't even need to look into their house. Our house is a mansion, a castle. Everybody is looking at the minaret up because it is high. So honestly, Nigerians are lucky to have the PDP and our presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar that is ready. No presidential candidate is ready. That's why you see they are all afraid to go out into the public and tell the public their policies because they don't have any. Even the presidential campaigns are not formed. Even the rallies are not ready. Nothing is ready.
Okay.
Only they want to move bad situation to worse.
All right, Dr. Baraka, thanks. You've raised a number of interesting points, and I'm sure our viewers who are out there, I mean, they will have their own sarcastic perspectives to some of the things that you have said. They also will be in support of what you have said. I mean, when you say it's a mansion, some persons are likely to be saying Nadabo. Oh, so there are some issues around housing allowance that some National Working Committee members got. But that's, of course, internal matter of the PDP. Internal matter. Yes, you have said so. That's why we are leaving it within the precincts of the PDP.
Director support group.
So housing allowance, some of them, they have returned them. They are saying, no, we don't have to. Charles, I mean, talking more seriously now. What does the PDP Presidential Campaign Council envisage as the likely issues that will frame the elections of February next year? I mean, you've been in the media for many decades, and what are the issues? I ask this question pointedly because in the past you said there are two big political parties in Nigeria. Then became PDP and APC, but 2023, from what the analysts are saying, we have 18 candidates, but we know that it's not business as usual. So what are the issues that the PDP Presidential Campaign Council has ahead of it?
Well, thank you very much. I want to also remind you that there are still only two big political parties in Nigeria. The difference between political parties and individuals, you recall when SARS took place, it did not take place under a platform of any political party, but they were able to mobilize. So if you have two political parties doing party thing, and then you have the other group coming together to be able to agitate on a number of issues that affect all of us. So I'm not trying to demean those who belong to this other group. But in terms of political parties, we still have two political parties where the parties are bigger than the contestants. But where in another case, the contestant is bigger than the political party is running. So we needed to make that clear. Now on the issues are very well known to Nigerians. Because today, you don't need to tell a Nigerian that the money in his pocket or the word in his hand no longer have the value that it used to have. You don't need to tell a Nigerian today that we have become much more divided than we used to be, than we were before now. And the reason why even the noise you talk about in our political party is gaining the kind of traction is because we have gotten to a very low level where nobody trusts the other anymore. Ordinarily, why will anybody just go and begin to make so much noise about where the chairman comes from? I have always said that for me personally, I don't even believe in zoning. I believe that the job of the president is to be able to give everybody his or her fair share. Whether the president is my brother and is not able to perform, I would prefer that let that president not be my brother and let him perform. Because when he performs, I live a better life. Because I have said, if you recall the last time I came, I said, I'm not too sure that the life of the average man in Daira has become so beautiful because Buhari is the president. It could be better even with the Jonathan. You recall the issue of the Almajiri educational system that taught the lives of a number of young ones in the north. Jonathan is not from the north, but he said we need to do that. I need a president, even if you're from the north, come and give me my due in the Niger Delta. Like she rightly mentioned, I think we have a business in the Niger Delta with a number of young ones from the Niger that are gainfully employed, able to feed their families. I gave an example in another sister station yesterday that are people just like Dangote, who is able to set up businesses everywhere in the country and then give job to those who can work irrespective of where they come from. What the Nigeria needs the president to do is for the president to know that it's like that pilot, like my brother mentioned, who will take you to your destination. And the moment you get to your destination, what you are looking for has been solved. Unfortunately, these individuals who either because they want to gain something for themselves, always hide under sectional interest, either on the base of ethnicity or the base of geographical divide, because they believe that if you don't do it this way, it will not come to them because ordinarily they are not qualified. What we need today is a pan-Nigerian president who even, let me tell you, even if Buhari's son want to come out and say he want to run for president, and I know he's capable of doing it, I don't want to care what his father did. I will vote for him. I don't want to use the son of his father to judge the son. So long as that president will come and do what the president needs to do to all of us. But when individuals come and begin to talk about, is he from the south, is he from the north, is he this, that is not what we need. We need somebody who will work. So these issues are very well known to us. And in the Presidential Council, they have agreed with the issues very well outlined by the presidential candidate, as well stated in that policy document called My Covenant with Nigerians, to be able to address 5 thematic areas, i.e. the need to bond together as a country so that we're able to address the mismanagement of our diversity by the ruling APC, and of course, which is at the center of it all. Every other thing that you see is symptomatic of that failure to address our diversity. Because once we're able to address it, it means that round pegs will certainly come into or find their way into round holes, while square pegs will of course fix into square holes. And beyond that, we need to return the jobs to our people. Our economy is in a very, very parallel situation and it needs to be addressed. Atiku is looking in that direction. Good enough, it has a CEO mentality. Then the third one is the need for us to be able to, as a country, deal with issues of insecurity, so that wherever we live, you are able to sleep with not only your 2 eyes closed, but you can dream and dream beautifully and possibly snore at your own expense without having to be scared that you are losing any sleep. And then, of course, don't forget the issue of education, that there is a need for us to not only protect the future, but protect today. And for us to be able to do that, we need knowledge. And knowledge, most often than not, comes from education. And Atiku says so much will be done in that direction. And good enough, he has led by example. Today, he has the biggest private university in northern Nigeria. And he started that not even when he was holding any office. At the time he was just about to leave as the vice president, he saw the need to give education to a mass majority of Nigerians, not only even those in the north. And then, of course, lastly, of these 5 thematic areas, is the need to devote powers to the component units, because we believe that the states and the local government are much more closer to the people. That it is really the business of the federal government to begin to look into a small clinic in one small community where the president will never even visit. But if we empower the local government and empower the states, they are able to address those issues because there are no federal people. We all belong to one community or one local government, and at the end of the day, before we now begin to come together as a federation. And so that being the case, Atiku, the average Nigerian, whether we like it or not, that value has been taken away, particularly in the last 7 years. And the need to return it is a journey that we must, by the grace of God, and others that may go overboard, we can afford to ignore them and stay with Nigerians and on these issues, so that at the end of the day, we're able to deliver on a number of issues that we are promised that we are going to be able to solve, and solve them very, very reasonably.
Okay, thank you so much. Looking at Atiku's, the PDP's 5-point agenda, and then against the background of the fact that all these have not been so much new to the Nigerian populace, and not only Atiku anyway, but talking about education, water, I think they're all true. Only for when the magnitude goes too high, then it becomes a talking point and it becomes an agenda for selling to the public and decide they can do it. Atiku has been, at the center of campaigns, and if not really being the head of the campaigns all through since 1999, has been contesting. And of course, he has been coming out with this agenda, most of them have been made nice and brought forth. Some of them have been changed, some of them have been, sort of molded or remolded. And here we are today still, 16 years on a PDP, just maybe 7 years of APC. Are you saying that there is going to be something new apart from what has been saying since 1999 to date?
Thank you. I'm excited that you said that some of his programs have been modernized, and that's to show you a man who has got capacity, and a man who has improved who has improved his own educational capacity. He went back to school after the last election. None of the presidential candidates, none of them can boast of that. Nigeria, as we speak today, have about 20.2 million. First off, Atiku being a CEO, a private sector person, private sector driven person, did something unique that I'm exhilarated about. The fact that he is the only Nigerian out of government who has established what we call a global center for out of school children in Africa. That, as I speak with you, is not only functional, it is working and it is supportive of children who are out of school in not just northern Nigeria. Where's children? We are drawing children from the streets. I'm a part of that project. So I'm talking from a point of knowledge. Only recently the American government even gave committed as much as $10 million to that project, because it's one initiative that has not been seen before, but see through their teacups. It sees something that others don't see.
What is the center all about, and how is it seeking to realize this?
Just tell us more. With the center, the first thing, what even happened, what even brought about the initiative, I was privileged to be a part of that movement. And it broke protocol. I see children of school age carrying a rope on their neck with a bowl in front of it and asking for people to drop money. So on this occasion, he wound down. And instead of dropping money, he called the child. What do you want? He said, money for food. You're hungry? He said, yes. Okay. I will not just give you day. But these children, he asked the security details and the protocol team to pick the children to come with him. Of course, those around the environment would resist, because it was something that looked like a semblance of kidnapping. Until he had to alight from his car, interacted with them. And when they saw him, it was the normal Rankadidi and hailings and all that. And that was how, in fact, some older people. From there, he held series of meetings with the community leaders, head of mosques, head of churches, and all that. By the grace of the Almighty, that grew into a big picture, and that was what gave birth to the Global Center for Out of School Children. These children, and being what we call a school, a feed to read initiative, because teach them, prepare them when you prep them, and they are able to deliver on the basic lines in a meal. And for any discerning mind, that is something that is commendable. These are things that go unsung. We tell them, look, these children are supposed to be the leaders of tomorrow and the conscience of our society. And if we don't do this today, it will lead to the children, the young people, becoming frustrated in future. And such a situation will be identified.
Frank, thank you. We needed to drill into the center once you mentioned it. Yeah. And I think that it's important, Honorable, that we also interrogate other aspects, because part of what we normally hear in terms of the hot air in campaigns is, we will do this, we will do that, we will provide security, we will improve the economy. Now, give me an example of out-of-school children. Let's decompose what your candidate has in terms of security. We know that the insecurity in the country has been worrisome on occasion, even though lately the security agencies have gotten on top of it. There are all kinds of ideas that have been floated. Some talk about state police, others talk about tackling the macroeconomic challenges. What is it that the PDP will be offering the Nigerian electorate as its response, for instance, to the security challenge?
Is that a lot of people, when they hear about security, they believe in guns, grenades, machine guns, and so on. But actually, security begins first. Security is automatically, safer with, trust and understanding. Because our military men are not spirits. They need the cooperation at the back. Because most of the people committing the crimes are Nigerians. Sometimes, before you even talk about the intruders, people coming in from outside. So unity is very important. Atiku is a father to all Nigerians, and he intends to, go about his what do you call it, responsibilities by embracing everybody as one and treating you based on competence and based on your ability to deliver. So that's one. The second aspect, PDP is also going to make sure that we give the security their specific enough in number, they are under-resourced, the funding, the training, and so many numbers also. You see, the security, how many policemen, for instance, do we have in Nigeria? We have over 200 million Nigerians that are being policed with less than 1 million policemen. So you can see where the discrepancy is between their capacity. No matter how trained they are, they will not be able to give the security cover that we see. Atiku Abubakar is on a national tour. Apart from the rallies that you see, His Excellency has reassurances, and this he can only get when he goes to sit one-on-one with the stakeholders to listen from them. What is it that you want? Whatever they want, and according to the order of priority, will automatically fall within this 5 points agenda. So we are not Delta are talking about pollution as my number one, while those in the north are talking about maybe banditry. Maybe people in the Niger Delta to be empowered based on their priorities within the confines of the policy framework. PDP is bringing, it is no longer this campaign promises. When you hear most presidential candidates telling you we are going to provide you with security, we are going to give you education, now you come down to the level of asking, can you give us? Just like you had Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, our own presidential candidate, within this policy framework, he is a veteran. Most of the policy, either as a stakeholder or because of his earlier experience. For instance, education, just like my colleague has just mentioned, I happen to be one of those on the governing board of the American University, and I know what Atiku is going through. That institute is not for profit, because every time he pumps in to support, he supports Chibok girls, he supports so many people in terms of school. Priority is to see how he can give back. Atiku became an orphan at a very early age. At a very early age, he has suffered. There is nothing he has not seen in terms of suffering as a small child. He was brought up eventually by his mom, lived together, changing places because they didn't own a house. So that made him, to grow up empathic. The empathy in him is much that everything you see Atiku doing revolves around alleviation of suffering from the masses. When he established the microfinance bank, he made sure 80% of the loans went to women. And he attested to the fact that everything Atiku does has a reason. Like, he wants to be the president of Nigeria because he wants to be the bridge. When you read his story, you will know that he was drafted into politics by his mentor, late General Shehu Adua. And when they all came as young people, he told them that this is a battle we are going in, it's a struggle. Some of you might be alive to see the result, and some may not be. And of course, late Shehu Adua is not alive today, and the bridge is still yet to be completed. When you go to Adua Center, you will see a symbolic bridge that is incomplete, who wants to build. Because the whole world, if you don't have unity, you cannot go anywhere. When you go out in the world, you want to be called a Nigerian, not a Hausa or not a Yoruba. I was at Arewa House during the policy dialogue when Atiku was asked, why should the North vote for you? Why do you want the North to vote for you? He didn't get up to tell them because I'm a Hausa Fulani. He told them that because he's a pan-Nigerian of northern origin, not based on them being Igbo or Yoruba or Hausa, no, but somebody, a pan-Nigerian who can accommodate everybody and yet resolve the issues. For instance, in the northern Nigeria, you can see today.
Okay, you seem to sound as if you're on the podium. Left alone, you keep talking and talking about this very gentleman, of course, the PDP, and it keeps on going and on.
Because I want Nigerians to understand why they should vote for PDP, not because we are on the podium saying I will improve security. No, Nigerians vote for the PDP, and why should they vote for Atiku? They should vote for Atiku. That's why I said, because he's an empathic leader and he is visionary. He sees beyond what we see today in terms of I am from the north or I am from the south. Atiku sees beyond that because he is a visionary leader, and that is what Nigeria needs. We want to see our integrity.
Yes, we are trying to break down the 5 points agenda and then see how he tries to address them. Looking at, my colleague asked you about security, and we talked about how it's going to be, how unity can be part about unity and the rest of them.
Then the security outfits is not properly addressed. Their training, they no longer have adequate training. I come from a military house. I know what is bedevil. I feel so sorry. Our parents had one of the best times, and you could see the result. So Atiku is taken from that background. He has the enforcement experience. He is from the private sector as well. He's been to the public sector. So any aspect that you see under the PDP policy document, Atiku has an experience, so he's addressing, and when you touch them, they say, I was the governor of so. That is no longer the thing.
Let's hear from your colleague here, Charles, and then get more of maybe add more to what she said. We're looking at these aspects one by one, and let's see how Atiku is going to really address it, or PDP generally is going to address it, given its own campaigns at the moment. You know, Frank talked about education a little bit from an impulse from my colleague talking about out-of-school children. And that goes beyond education. Nigeria goes beyond that. You know, that's the major issue, really, because when you look at the future, they are the building blocks for the future. Addressing that is very important, and we've seen how he's trying to do that. But it's not more than 48 hours or so that we came out of the ASU strike, for instance. And some other things like that, decay in the, I mean, when you look at the bulk of the demands of ASU, all right, boils down to better education, you know, for Nigerians, wherever they are, especially at tertiary level. But frankly, the PDP, for instance, or Atiku, to be specific, address this issue of incessant strike by ASU and some other institutions in this country. Well, if you catch them young at the out-of-school children,
specifically on page 44 of that policy document, you'll see Atiku's position, what he needs to do with education, respect to collaborating with the states, and then of course really whole. But like I said before I go into that, there was a question you asked earlier where you are doing, which means we are more on the part of theory. Now when we look at the 1999, when we look back, and I'm happy that all of us here, of course, have come of age at that time, we discovered where we were under the military era before the emergence of PDP in 1999, and how the PDP administration for that 15 years, 16 years, was able to recreate the middle class that was at that time non-existent. A whole lot of policies were put in place to be able to address that. And our economy started growing to the extent that as far up to 2014, Nigeria had an economy that was growing more than any of the economies in Europe. That was because there were a lot of things that were done at that time. You need to go and check it. Up to 2014, our economy was better than any of the economies in Europe. Africa, we also became the largest economy in Africa. But unfortunately, the issues of the last 7 years has possibly, even before now, you recall that when you're going to the bank, you possibly want to go with your mat because you don't even know when you're going to come back. You saw what the PDP did with the issues of strengthening the banking sector, so that even when the bank goes under, you are not even afraid of losing your funds. Before now, no matter the amount you had, it was just about 50,000 naira that you're going to get, even if you had billions. You also recall the issue of a pension reform. Before that time, it was a very terrible state. The PDP was able to reform our pension system to the extent that we now started having contributory pension scheme. We also saw during the PDP era that idea of you going to United to queue because you want to make call to talk to your brothers in Lagos, our unity started coming back again, and individuals could go to wherever they liked. Unfortunately, because of certain part of that particular achievement, particularly in the first 8 years of the PDP administration. Now, coming to the direct question on the issues of education. Outing he had in Lagos, where he mentioned that before now the regions did very well with respect to education, and he talked specifically about the north, the southwest, and the southwest Midwest of Nigeria and Soka. That these universities attracted a whole lot of persons from even beyond Africa because they were properly run and they were properly funded. Has made strike a recurrent decimal in our academic calendar is because the school system is poorly funded. A situation whereby you ask a child to go to the farm to go and clear the grass and do everything possible, and you did not even equip him with any implement, either cutlass or hoe, and you expect that child to be able to grow beautiful crops, that is not going to happen. Ask me to be able to train, to be able to impart knowledge. And some of those, number one, is the learning environment. The learning environment has become very, very unconducive for learning. Number one, you come into a classroom, no electricity, you go into the library, the books are very much archaic, or that's even where the library exists. You go to the science lab, nothing like even ordinary Bunsen burner. You don't even have it, let alone having those other much more sophisticated equipment. And you want us to train engineers. ASU says no. So individuals are thinking as only about how much you need to pay. It's important that you also give them the right remuneration. Otherwise, what we call as when we're doing service PP, private practice, we become, not even we become, have become the end of the day. You see a teacher who is supposed to be in the classroom, he's very busy selling something in the marketplace or is in the farm, because why? Stomach infrastructure is very important. When the government have not been able to, through remuneration, provide the necessary stomach infrastructure by way of salary. Like they say, what is it called? Man no go die. The man will look for that thing that he need to feed. It's not enough to ask Nkechi not to go to Mama Yabo's house to feed. You must make sure that you are provided with food for Nkechi. Otherwise, the aroma in Mama Yabo's soup will attract Nkechi and only will navigate toward that direction as soon as the mother step out of the house. And that is why we are saying that our lecturers are jumping out of Nigeria to look for where Mama Yabo has actually prepared food, so that they will not die of hunger in Mama Nkechi's house. So if you want to stop ASU from going to strike, like Atiku said, he is going to ensure proper funding of the school system such that the learning environment becomes conducive, the society and the government, that will not be out of place. And very quickly, as I round up, there was an academic summit we did in Delta. And why did we do that? We said we needed to look how do we make this school system function properly. And one of our Professor Mobile, asked a question. So who owns the child? That was the question. And he needed an answer. Is it the parents who biologically came together and produced the child and brought that child into the world? Or is it the society where this child is going to operate? Or is it the government who has the responsibility as provided for in Section 14, subsection 2, paragraph B of the 1999 Constitution to provide security and welfare for the people? And he says these three individuals, now represented by these the parents, the society, need to play a role. And when they need to play, the mother and the parents provide the child, and then this way, and then the society is not doing anything. Atiku says he's going to.
We're going to have to take a short break now. Our director has been signaling to us for us to take a short break. When we return from the break, we continue with the conversation.
From the rank of groups that have been routed in one location or the other, moving to another to give the false impression that they are still strong. Our ultimate goal is to eliminate them altogether and restore total and lasting peace over every inch, to ensure that every inch of the Nigerian soil is safe. That determination is there in our midst. We shall continue to work for the peace of the nation and the entire elements that constitute threats to the people. We shall be restored to Nigeria.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. In our nation, Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate movement. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant ID persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report to pass security information. Please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
Are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity. Those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who is Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating.
Welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We still have our three guests here with us in the studios discussing the PDP. Yes, and we talked about labels. We've already tried to address in part the issue around education, an aspect of it, and security, an aspect of it, from the candidates or the political parties, what they intend to do. The country has an issue with debt. We have an issue with debt and debt servicing because government is a continuum. It goes on and on. The country has a challenging issue with crude oil theft and how that impacts budgetary preparations for 2023. Subsidies supposed to be removed in June or July next year, by which time we have a new administration. Because we saw what happened in 2015. In 2015, when the new administration came in on May 29, 2015, the APC there, the governing party, which it still is, said that it was going to have some issues with implementing those ideas that were not part of his original program. What is it that we can begin to take a look at in terms of these issues that I've highlighted? The debt overhang that we are faced with, fuel subsidy that's supposed to be taken off sometime in sometime in June. Elections will hold, and when we will come to power by the grace of God in May 2023. So we have a lot by our policy team, and they are working on that day and night. But before actually taking a look at that question, I will still take you back to particularly as it relates to tertiary education. You know, Atiku Abubakar, our university you attended years ago. Some of the lecture theaters you left in that university are the same lecture theaters that are still there till today. No improvement. So our carrying capacity, the carrying capacity of our universities across both from the private, state, I can tell you no, it's not the same. It's changed. It's minimal. It's minimal. Our carrying capacity, I tell you, our carrying capacity, the carrying capacity of our universities between then and, in fact, as we speak today, it's between 8 million students. Now, if you have a carrying capacity of about between 350 to 400,000 students, what happens to the difference of about 1.4 million children? So it takes you down. Some of those candidates apply for polytechnics, colleges of education, and other some are polytechnics, colleges of education. We know those who apply for these examinations. I'm talking to you from an informed position because I'm an educator, and I make feeder situations to what we call educational tourism today, down to the country as small as Benin Republic. Benefit, what that does to us, it affects our economy, affects what our earnings as a people.
Now, if you just suppose this and you place this on a scale of rectitude, it is the framework, the law that even established it needs to be reviewed, because a situation where you have a body that is meant to cater to the needs, particularly in the admission of children into our tertiary institutions, particularly our universities, and all that drives them is more about finance, then there is a problem. A child pays 7,000 naira to buy a form for joint admissions or matriculation board examination, between 4, 5, 6, 7,000 naira. He pays 1,000 naira to print what they call the original results. And after that, when you and I applied, or when you applied to get admission to the university,
Charles, the program we're looking for solutions now. What are people going to bring on board?
What we're going to bring on board, you see, you cannot talk about solutions without looking at even the issues itself. What we're going to bring on board is, it has a multiplier effect even on our security. Because the majority of the children, of the young people you see today, involved in banditry, involved in robbery, involved in drug abuse, involved in different vices today, are young people. If you look at the age bracket, you see that you have a lot of young people.
How do we curtail that?
How you curtail that is there's going to be a handshake with the private sector. And there is no way we can run away from the fact that, look, as much as we incentivize what we call the education sector, you have to create an enabling environment where, look, the states are involved, the new governments are involved. Of course, the education tax which has been there over time should be properly monitored and managed in a way that, look, even if you're going to introduce a school fee policy, particularly no matter how minimal, Atiku will, for now, take a look at the Students' Loans Board, revitalization, restructuring it, and look at how it can work appropriately to support the students' body. But then the private sector will be invited and incentivized in a way that they can support that sector. Because in the moment that is done, obviously it will cater to the needs of security as well and mitigate the issue of insecurity.
I raised the issue. I would like Dr. Baraka to also weigh in here before Charles also comes in, because we're getting pressed for time. I raised other challenging issues that we are faced with. Debt crisis.
Yes.
Well, what's going to be our response? Crude oil theft, fuel subsidy. What should the electorate expect from the PDP in terms of dealing with these issues? I mean, also, we know that there's also infrastructure, but I'm just talking about what is probably fairly obvious to us, because the consequences, we feel it virtually every day.
Well, if you look at what His Excellency said, Atiku Abubakar, way back in 2018, I told you he's a visionary leader, and Nigerians can attest to that. When he proffered a solution that revolved around NNPC, talking about selling off the refineries that are not working, that have become more or less like an albatross in the industry. Nigeria, the opposition party twisted it to decampaign the PDP that he was going to sell to his friends and so on. Eventually, this is what is going to happen. You can see they have already now privatized the NNPC. Atiku Abubakar was the first person to say this is what we need to do. But it's not enough again to just make it a private company. We need to now sell off some shares. If you look at what is happening in Saudi Arabia, their national oil company, they just sold a bit of it, and look at the amount of money they got.
Aramco,
yes. Look at what Aramco has grown to be. We cannot be taking the old analogy, move with time, move with innovation, and that is why I told you Atiku Abubakar is prepared. He has just finished, because most of the problems bedeviling Nigeria are also related and interconnected.
It's a dissertation.
He has written everything, he has received the certificate. You didn't tell me, I would have brought the copy to you.
No, I don't. Trying to get at.
I will get it to you if you want. No, Atiku will answer it himself.
All right.
Yes. But let me tell you, what should concern Nigerians is that they should know they are going to have a visionary president. They should know they are going to have somebody with current solution, current in work with the youths. Let me give you an example. As it revolves education, there's going to be a change in curriculum to work, a curriculum that will work for now. Atiku is the kind of president that will send the young ones to Mars, to anywhere. to come back with new technology, new information. So accrued from international financial institution, and we need to have a good understanding so that either they reschedule, either they soften, either they forgive. And Atiku is a veteran in that area. If you may recall, he was part of those that worked. So, Okonjo Iweala's time. Yes, he was the person, Atiku Abubakar was the person that supervised the economic team that got that waiver. And as a result, we have this MDG, the Millennium Development Goals that came on board. Then with the NNPC and subsidy, once NNPC is properly managed and maybe we are able to do as Uramco did, we can sell a little bit of NNPC, get shares. Government has no business with business. And maybe we can see our sovereign wealth fund being returned, because we really need to plan for tomorrow. And Atiku is the kind of president that is visionary and he plans for tomorrow. Nigerians should pray very hard to really have Atiku in that office, because honestly he's going to make a perfect president for all Nigerians.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Finally, as a party shot, how, maybe a 60 seconds there about
on the issue of the campaign rallies, like she mentioned in the course of this interaction, we're continuing with interface with a number of our people in the different states. For every state we go to, you see interface with the leaders and then where they are, because what we are borrowed. It's not going to stop it from happening. All you need to do is have it now, schedule it to be able to pay back so it does not become a burden. And then borrowing is not a crime. I think we believe that if you must borrow for value. You don't borrow for consumption. And of course, there are individuals who are talking about production economy, are very much involved in consumption businesses, unlike Atiku. And so somebody who is at that level will indeed not put pressure on our forex, the little that we're able to get. And so that's why we are convinced that going forward, he's going to be able to revive our economy, ensure that our debt burden does not become such that he weighs us down from being able to do a number of things that we ordinarily need to do. So PDP and Atiku and of course the whole leadership is very much determined to make a difference.
Okay, thank you so very much, Honorable Charles Anebu. Honorable Charles Anebu is a People Democratic Party's presidential candidate spokesman. We're very grateful for having you here.
Thanks for having me.
Same also, Dr. Baraka, we are very, very grateful, and thank you so much for the Baraka you brought in to this very program this morning. He is a former senior special assistant to the President of Agriculture and PDP star for sure. She is also at the moment the director of PDP support group. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria.
Up next on Good Morning Nigeria is sports.
Nigeria's Flamingos will take on the United States of America in the quarterfinals of the Under-17 Women's World Cup in India. The pairing was confirmed after the USA thrashed Morocco 4-0 in their final Group A game to finish top on Monday. Earlier on Monday, the Flamingos booked their place in the last 8 following a hard-fought 2-1 win against Chile in their last Group B tie. Goals from which was just a consolation goal. Germany, who finished ahead of the Flamingos in Group B, will take on Group A winners of Brazil in the knockout round. Real Madrid and France forward Karim Benzema has won the Ballon d'Or awarded to the best footballer of the year for the first time. Benzema scored 44 goals in 46 games as he helped Real win the Champions League and La Liga in 2021-2022. Bayern Munich's Sadio Mane, who was at Liverpool in 2021-2022, was second ahead of Manchester City's Kevin De Bruyne. Super Falcons of Nigeria and Barcelona striker Aizatu Shola finished in 16th place in the final 20 shortlist of the 2022 Women's Ballon d'Or Award. Her Barcelona teammate Alexia Putellas emerged the winner of the Women's Ballon d'Or Award for the second year running.
All right, congratulations there to all the winners at the Ballon d'Or celebrations last night. Karim Benzema, best footballer of the year. Certainly, he's a French international and the captain currently of Real Madrid. That's it for us on Good Morning Nigeria today. We appreciate your being with us. Join us again tomorrow, same time for a fresh package of the program. Take care of yourselves. I'm Kingsley Osabalo.
And I'm Yusuf Adavis. Enjoy the birthday. See you tomorrow.
Latest entrant, latest technology. Welcome to Intel 4G LTE Advanced and experience super fast internet access today. Visit intel.com.ng or any of our stores in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt to get started. Intel.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can watch NTA International live on your TV, computer, iPad, tablet and phone. Log on visiontv.co.uk and click on the link. Then NTA International on the go, anywhere in the world. NTA International. Your window through the world.
Our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque, please realize that in the course of praying for peaceful and transparent elections, we all have duties beyond prayers. If we want a stable society before, during and after the elections, what should you be saying to those that worship with you? All Sundays and all Fridays, you are saddled with the responsibility of bringing up good generations. It is therefore your duty to both man and God to ensure peace all the time, no matter about elections alone. People talk to people and people listen. Talk to your followers. Make them listen to ensure peaceful 2023 elections. This message from the National Orientation Agency.
It's a mustard seed, then nurture it, water it, grow it into that tree in your rainforest.
If you already started growing and that's listening,
issue in our society.
there are certain things we take that's good for you at the same time that's bad side.
Yeah. What is it that you want to leave us with today?
Our reality with Sky, 10:30 a.m. every Monday, and a repeat at 12 midnight. This is the network service of the NTA.